Hey, it's Anna. Welcome back to my channel. And this week, I feel like I have a really fun video because I graciously asked my husband to look up some 1-star reviews of books that I've given 5 stars. So I have a little PowerPoint here that he already set in presentation mode so that I could not cheat. And we're going to go through and guess some together. I had initially, I think, put on like 15, 20 books maybe. I don't remember the list or anything. I tried not to pay too much attention as I was adding books onto the PowerPoint. So let's see what we have in store. All right, so we have our first 1-star review. It says, I got an advanced copy of this book and was so excited after reading the synopsis. I DNF'd around 40%, just could not get into this book. Slow plot, teen drama in a college setting, just too juvenile for me to get into. I'm trying to think of some 5-star books I've rated in a college setting before. Oh my goodness, I have no idea. This is so terrible. I know one of my 5-star books that takes place in a college setting is Take a Hint, Danny Brown, but that's more like they're professors. So I feel like that's too old, but maybe it's not. And also that would make sense to get an advanced reader copy of it. I don't know. Let's go with, I think this is Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert, which I gave a 5-star. Oh, it was Honey and Spice. Oh no. I really liked Honey and Spice, and I liked it because of the school politics too. Oh no. So one of the reasons I obviously really liked this book was a reason somebody rated it 1 star. All right, first one down, did not do a good job. My husband also told me, because I didn't give him author names, that there might be some confusing reviews, but we're just gonna see. All right, so 1-star review number 2. This says, I'm sad because I really thought I would devour this book, and here we are. Nick's family is the best thing we have here. I really liked what I read about them, as well as the food descriptions, but I was expecting a cute romance to warm my heart. And Nick and Neil are cute, and I like them as individual characters, but their chemistry is basically non-existent. There's no point in reading a romance if I cannot feel what they're trying to show me. I don't remember a 5-star book with the main character name of Nick. Shoot, or Neil. I guess, I don't know. I feel like Becoming a Queen was a kind of like, it felt like a memoir style, but it was more about like becoming yourself. But that was also a 5-star read in Becoming a Queen because I really loved the narrator. I cannot remember the narrator's name, and maybe the narrator's name is Nick. I really loved how they did come into themselves and embrace their identity, and maybe there was a romance aspect to it. So we're gonna guess it's Becoming a Queen. Oh my gosh. This is really embarrassing because I did a game on my YouTube channel where I was able to like talk about books I had read just from titles, but I guess the other way around, if I hear some description or review, I can't guess what the title is. So this was Fake Dates and Mooncakes. I love Fake Dates and Mooncakes. I think it was a very cute story. I thought it was extremely heartwarming. I didn't feel like their relationship was non-existent at all, but I guess this person and I have very different opinions. All right, number 3. I'm surprised getting to this third 1-star review that this is where we have like all caps. So it says, oh my god, these characters are all awful. What is this trend of trans MCs being pedantic? Oh gosh, I think I know which one this is just from that already. Vaguely homophobic and classist assholes. I literally hate every single character, and there is nothing redeemable about the main character. I do not understand all the praise this book gets because I could barely get through it. Also, at this point, y'all should see this coming, but please stop with this stupid onslaught of pop culture references. Harry Potter isn't even that good. Jesus. Okay, I think this is Felix Ever After because I know the main character of that book was trans, but there was also some deeper self-exploration that the character did, but I feel like that's one of the main ones with the trans main character because Becoming a Queen, while 5 stars, did not have a trans main character, but Felix Ever After did. So let's see if I'm right. Okay, we're 1 for 3. Could be way worse than that. Felix Ever After, I was like slightly uncomfortable while reading the book, but I think that was on purpose because somebody was dead naming Felix and really putting all of their business on blast at the school. But I didn't think he was any of those things that the 1-star person said, but I also did listen to it, so maybe that made it more personable of a book. I'm also someone that doesn't mind pop culture references in books, but I know that's something that people really do not like. A great example example of this is the Crave series, has so many pop culture references, but I love the Crave series and I know other people think it's cringy. All right, 1-star review number 4. The writing is pretty easy to get through. However, this was so YA I cringed and got second half embarrassment from Brian throughout the whole book. I really didn't enjoy this book and I'm pretty disappointed because I had high hopes for this one. It took about 20% of the murder meth mystery to ensue, but I can't say that I was invested or even a little interested. It's so extremely boring with a lot of description. I do love the cover though. What book is this that I rated 5 stars? I also don't usually rate books with 5 stars with main male characters like that. In a murder, I feel like most of my murder books have female main characters. So I'm trying to think. I have quite a few 5-star thriller books and I'm really trying to think of who Brian is in this thriller book. And also if the cover is a standout, right? Like I'm trying, that's kind of a hint there to think what cover is a standout of a 5-star book I really liked with Brian as the main character. All right, as I was reading the review out loud, my husband informed me that the names have been changed, so I shouldn't even think of Brian as anything. I'm gonna say, okay, for the murder meth mystery then, because I feel like that's something that would stand out to me in a book. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like one of my biggest thrillers that a lot of people have critiques of is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, so we're gonna guess that it's that. I really don't think it is that, but that's what I'm trying to think of. So The Housemaid is my guess. Oh. Okay, it was Firekeeper's Daughter. I do remember the drugs now in that book. Yes, there is a surrounding drug scheme where Adonis, who is our main character, I'm wondering if Adonis was changed to Brian then. Oh, this is gonna be so funny. So Adonis gets recruited essentially by the FBI to assist in trying to figure out how drugs are getting into the local hockey team. I thought it was a really interesting story where you learned a lot about Ojibwe culture, and I didn't get any secondhand embarrassment, but that's really interesting that somebody thinks that. I wonder how they would react to reading Warrior Girl Unearthed because that's a different book but set in the same like sphere. I would be curious what that same reviewer has to say. All right, we have our 5th 1-star review. The reason I won't like this book or any similar one is because of the design itself and the idea for the plot, which doesn't simply exist. I don't mind the descriptions of disorders, traumas, romantic relationships in books when they have something more to say besides these threads, and also about the characters. I like it when people don't revolve around their own sexual orientation, disorder, trauma, when they have something to offer beyond that fact. Ooh, okay. I feel like, I don't know if this was one of the books that I gave, but I feel like The Design of Goodbye, which I did give 5 stars, is a book that does face a lot of trauma. I don't know if it necessarily directly talks about like a diagnosable disorder, but I feel like it touches a lot on like anxieties in people's past. The only thing that's throwing me off is the sexual orientation part because both of the characters in The Design of Goodbye are heterosexual and I feel like they don't even have any hints of anything other than that. So I don't know if this person is just being a little bit vague with that and trying to encompass all their feelings. I'm gonna guess The Design of Goodbye for this one. All right, it was Mirror Season, which I thought was a very interesting take on, I guess, trauma, which is very accurate. An interesting take on trauma in the high school sphere through the lens of these characters that you meet along the way. There is a magical element with the mirrors that end up popping up with our main character. Yeah, oopsie daisy, my bad. I am not doing very good at this game at all. All right, so my husband did tell me that there was one 2-star review in here, and this is a 2-star review. So it says, this book was too, quote, perfect. Everyone was too quick to agree to a plan, too quick to forgive. Sam was crying every other page. Okay, I have to ignore the name Sam. I just have to think somebody was crying every other page. They agreed to a plan, too quick to forgive. So I feel like it's definitely a faster paced book, which I love fast paced books, but I'm just trying to think of a character that was really like upset. I feel like this gives vibes of, no, I was gonna say I feel like this gives me the vibes of the Crave series, but I don't even think I rated that 5 stars. So it wouldn't be on here. And then I feel like there has to be a group of people in this to all agree to a plan. I'm really trying to think of a character that cried a lot, or maybe they're over exaggerating the crying point. Okay, I'm going to do 5 Survive by Holly Jackson because that was a situation where I feel like people agreed to a lot. There was a lot of confusion. I don't know if the main character cried a lot, but maybe they did. All right, well, it was Blood Like Fate. I definitely don't agree with that review at all. I don't think our main character, Voya, cried every other page. And you know what? If she was crying every other page for Blood Like Fate, the second book in the duology, after everything that happened in the first book, she deserves a little cry here and there, okay? There is a lot on her shoulders when she is very young. I didn't think she was crying that much, though. I mean, I don't think it was even that quick for everyone coming to the plan either when they were planning out how to help in the situation that they're put in. Obviously, because this is the second book in a duology, I don't want to say too much, but yeah, my review definitely did not say anything along those lines similar to that 2-star review, but I'm glad it was 2 stars and that he had trouble finding 1 star for one of my favorite books. So that's kind of nice. Then we have our 7th 1-star review. Do not want to read another book about a bunch of judgmental chicks. One of them literally treats her supposedly best friend like shit for no apparent reason. This book goes for smart and sassy. It is just immature and dull. Sad though, because the cover is super cute. We have another cover that's super cute and with another friend group where they don't like each other and they're supposed best friends and judgmental chicks. Okay, the only thing that I can really think of, and I can't even remember if I rated this book 5 stars because I feel like I read it a little while ago, but in the Uglies series, the first book in the Uglies, they are supposed to be like best friends. There are a lot of judgmental chicks because it's, you know, society's view on pretty and not pretty in a dystopian world. And yeah, I feel like I have to go with Uglies for this one. I'm sure I'm not right. The worst part is, I looked back at my bookshelf for this one, and let me show you what book it was. It was by the book. Judgmental. I don't know that at all. This is a take on Beauty and the Beast. I feel like it really focuses on our main girl, Izzy, right? Our main girl, Isabel, and her work with Bo Towers, who is this like recluse child actor. I don't even remember a best friend. Shows you how long it's been that I've read it. And I love Jasmine Guillory's writing style. And the cover was cute. At least they had that going for them, but I definitely don't agree with the review. All right, we have number 8. I just couldn't with this book. When you know what you're getting with a romance novel, tension, then connection, then misunderstanding / conflict, then happily ever after, this book reads like a high school paper written off an outline. First reluctant kiss? Check. Growing attraction and wondering if they'll feel the same? Check. Illness, injury, something to make them get closer? Check. I don't connect with any of the characters and found them all pretty annoying. The main character is unlikable and realistic. There are much better books out there. Skip this one. I feel like I had a few romances on my 5-star read list. I know I had Take a Hint, Danny Brown. I had The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I'm trying to remember if I had others besides those two. Those are the main two coming to my mind right now. I mean, Fake Dates and Mooncakes is also a romance. Okay, let's go. I feel like the first reluctant kiss is kind of the big thing. So wasn't one of the books with like a big interesting attraction or anything like that. And then injury or illness. Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna say that this one is Take a Hint, Danny Brown. Let's go with that one because I feel like there was a first reluctant kiss. If I remember correctly, there was some type of incident and like some injury where they had to come together. So I feel like that's gonna be Take a Hint, Danny Brown. I'm really bad at this game. This was the partner plot. I read this like 2 months ago. I do remember how there is some injury illness where they come together in the book. I liked the partner plot though. It's the second by Christina Forrest in a series following sisters. The partner plot focuses on the middle sister, I believe, not the oldest. And you follow like her fashion journey. There's like some fake dating almost / marriage involved. I really liked it. Let me tell you, I didn't think the main character was unlikable or unrealistic. I think she has like a high fashion designer job, and I think that's just a world that maybe most people don't see, but if you put yourself in their shoes, you can maybe see how it's a little realistic. Look at me defending all my books. Our 1-star review, number 9. This book, I cannot with how bad and cringy it was. Okay, gotta ignore the name. Beth sure thought she was a good girl who can't help but make bad choices everywhere and fuck things up and not listen to a single person in her life. I was actually rooting for this book to make a point about anger, but everyone just treated these bullshit scenarios as if they're good and reasonable, and honestly, they don't be. They're crap. I wasted almost a month on this book, and honestly, not worth it. Next, please, and an actual good book now. Okay. So someone thought that they were a good girl in this book who couldn't help but make bad bad choices. I feel like part of me with that book, and then actually rooting for the book to make a point about anger. So a really angry female main character is who I'm thinking that this book has to be centered around. An angry female main character, which I feel like I read a decent portion of. So is that the most helpful in the world? Not necessarily. But someone who makes like bad choices, I feel like one of the big things with The Housemaid and the premise behind The Housemaid is that Millie is getting out of prison and then feeling about anger. I mean, she is angry a lot. So let's go with The Housemaid. Every time. Okay, this was for On the Come Up, which I feel like makes sense. So that was Bree. Okay, so same first name, same first letter as Beth. So I might have to keep that in mind with some hints. And I can kind of see in terms of with Bree in this book who thought, you know, that she was making like bad choices everywhere, not listening to a single person. I definitely feel like you get that from the movie. I feel like book Bree is a little more complicated than that because Bree gets her, you know, claim to fame rapping, but she raps about things that don't necessarily apply to her. And so she gets into a lot of trouble with that. But I don't know. I don't know. I really think that, I don't know if this is, you know, I feel like this is the review that's making me reflect on the book the most, that like I'm kind of starting to see from somebody else's side. It only took 9 one-star reviews to start doing that, but I feel like this is the first one where it's like I'm not as adamantly defending that. I feel like I would have to reread and see Bree's experience again before I could defend it. All right, number 10. I had heard so much about this author and this book that I was excited to pick it up. However, this was not a good fit for me. I found the characters one-dimensional and the dialogue very forced. There was no chemistry among the characters. I had to make myself read it, even rushing through in order to be finished before finally giving up. I just couldn't start my new year reading a book I dislike so much. I'm not sure how this has such a high rating. Are we reading the same book? So in terms of chemistry among the characters, that's making me lean towards a romance book. And with the dialogue being forced and the characters being one, I'm gonna guess, this is gonna sound bad, I'm gonna guess it's gonna be This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan, because you're talking about a book where the premise is folks were divorced and then having this second chance at it. So I feel like that goes along with like maybe some dialogue being forced, maybe not being able to feel the chemistry because of all of the hurt back there. I don't fully know if it's a romance book just because it's kind of vague, but I know This Could Be Us also has a very, very high rating, so let's go with that. Woo! Oh, such validation. It was This Could Be Us. So even though there were no names, I could tell by the vibes. I obviously did not feel that way about this book. I think the book was I would be interested to know if the reviewer was married, because I think being married does change your viewpoint. And I like couldn't imagine going through what the folks in that book went through in regards to a marriage, and then having a divorce is a very tough decision, and then getting back together. I don't know. I'd be interested to know if the reviewer was married. All right, number 11, 1-star review. Honestly, this pains me, but I hated this. I didn't like the characters. I didn't like the quote romance. Brian's, trying to think of a B character name, inner dialogue was an absolute repetitive mess, which I get sometimes at how it is, but it is excruciating to read. The twist was kind of boring, to be honest, and lastly, this was way, way, way too long. I feel like this is probably going to be a book that I listened to then, because I don't always feel the length of books when I listen to them, and I feel like I have listened to a lot of romances. I'm going to guess for this is going to be The 7-Year Slip, because you kind of know the twist going into it, and so I feel like it's not as exciting, and I did listen to The 7-Year Slip. Well, this wasn't a romance. It was a thriller book called 5 Survive. I didn't think the twist was boring, but whatever. And I think part of Red's dialogue being repetitive is because she's in this state of panic with anxiety, trying to figure out the world around her. And also it is a thriller, so it's trying to twist you along the way. I don't know. That's an interesting review of 5 Survive, and not something I would really say. I guess romance in quotes kind of makes sense for this book because the book isn't really a romance, and I don't think that's ever something that Holly was trying to sell it as a romance. Interesting that they really picked out that little romance part. We have, if you like reading teen lit with repetitive words like muscle, handsome, and dark eyes in just about every chapter, then this book is for you. With all the positive reviews on Goodreads and Amazon's, I feel like I was duped into reading this novel. The premise is interesting, but that's about it. There are 2 POV sections, and I do give the author credit for writing with a slightly more mature POV, but the muscular, handsome, dark eyes creep their way into Alex's narrative too. The end is silly as well, as if Hillary is now some sort of caped crusader for rich housewives. I'm guessing Lifetime could make a guilty pleasure movie with the plot. That's a hard no for me. Shoot. I feel like there's so many big hints in this one. Okay. I feel like 2 POV sections, Cape Crusader fruit. I feel like this has to be either the Housemaid's or the Housemaid's Secret. I feel like this is giving me more Housemaid's vibe because there is a little attraction with the main man in this book. Yes. Let's go. It was the Housemaid. I don't know how somebody would describe the Housemaid's Secret then, but I definitely feel like there were a lot more hints in that review that helped me get to the Housemaid, and I love the Housemaid. The 3rd one's coming out this year. I can't wait to read it. I'm so excited. In my opinion, I do see, looking back at the review, I didn't really, I guess, hear or read the like Muscles, Handsome, Dark Eyes, but when I read a Frida McFadden book, I feel like I'm in a different zone. I feel like it's so fast-paced, her writing. I feel like maybe I don't pick up on all those detail words, but I could see if you're really critically reading it, maybe you pick up on that. And then, yeah, the end being silly. I don't think the end was silly. I think the end was pretty gruesome. And you know what? I hope Lifetime makes a movie out of this because I would watch it. 1-star review number 13, The Flowery Prose. That's interesting because I don't usually like books with any type of flowery prose. Really interested what this book is. The Flowery Prose I loved in the previous installations, only took this series so far. Ooh, okay, this is a series. And in this book, it completely falls apart. The entire first half of this book is recounting from every single perspective what happened in the previous book, especially when each of the characters that were speculated to be dead or alive have their own point of view chapters. It becomes tedious for us as the reader to read what we already know and have known. Furthermore, this book essentially has the same plot as its first 2 counterparts. Go to a place, gather an ally with a "we're the good guys, the nation is in danger" speech from Brooke or Amy, then go to a different place. I struggle because despite their obvious flaws, I enjoyed the first 2 books. So this is a 3rd book. However, oh, I feel like I know what this is now. However, like many modern high fantasy novels, the series is too fast-paced and too big to conquer successfully. I'm locking it in with Fatebreaker. I think it's Fatebreaker, 3rd book in the Realmbreaker series. It's Fatebreaker. I can't hear criticism of that book. Absolutely not. I think it's a great series ending. I feel like it's our champions all coming together at the end after being separated. I feel like that person read maybe a different book. In my opinion, that's just me. 1-star review number 14. I wanted to like this so bad. The initial premise explained in the synopsis is cool, and it had a lot of potential, but everything else was so far below my expectations that it was quite depressing. The characters were so flat, and the actual substance behind everything made 0 sense. Sometimes I wish I could turn off my critical brain when I read, but I just couldn't this time. And the whole emphasis on sex was so weird. Hated it and left a bad taste in my mouth, lol. I feel like I don't really read a lot of spicier books. So what book with the emphasis on sex would I have rated 5 stars? That's a tough one for me. All right, so my husband just informed me that he changed the word fertility to sex because he thought fertility would be too obvious. And then he also said that this might be a description that like is for a book I maybe haven't read because of the title. I'm really trying to think of a 5-star book. I mean, so like, this is gonna sound weird, but like The Giver, I feel like has a decent emphasis on fertility to a point. And I really did love The Giver. I don't think I put it on this list because I haven't read it in the past like 2 years. So what book? And I usually don't read books that have like too much pregnancy involved in them. I really don't even have a guess for this. Let's see what the title was. Oh, it was The Deep Sky. Okay, listen. So the premise of The Deep Sky is that they are flying through space to planet X. And so the fertility aspect is because they were thinking about repopulating this planet once they get to planet X. So, okay, I definitely see how that makes sense. I don't understand, if you're getting into a book where everyone is trapped on a ship and there is potential sabotage on the ship, it's not going to be like a happy-go-lucky book. So I feel like maybe this person should have read the synopsis maybe a little bit deeper. And this is going to sound bad, but like sometimes I wish I could turn off my critical brain. But like at the same time, I feel like if the synopsis pulled you in about being trapped in space, I feel like that would have been the hint that it would have been a sadder book. And like, again, fertility when you're thinking about eventually repopulating a planet, I feel like makes sense. I don't know. We probably have different critical brains. I'm sure they're critically thinking about like the actual words maybe, and I'm thinking more about like the overall concept, but also I don't really turn on my critical brain too much when I read. All right, we have our first emoji in a review, number 15. All right, before getting into number 15 for our review, my husband just informed me that he changed the word critical in the description. So it was not originally critical. It was supposed to be STEM brain, but he thought that would have given it away too much. So, which I do think it would have given it away a little bit more. If it had said STEM brain and fertility, I probably would have gone towards The Deep Sky. So good on him for trying to trick me on that one. So number 15, you have disappointed me. I figured it would get better as I read through it, but I'm pretty sure it just annoyed me more. I felt like there wasn't enough character development, like I could honestly care less about them. There was not even a connection between them. It was very cringe, especially when she thought about him. I was instantly rolling my eyes and raising eyebrow emoji. What is this? I found it boring and wanted it to end immensely. I don't know. I feel like because it's You've Disappointed Me, it's an author that has written before, so maybe, and for me, so for example, with Take a Hint, Danny Brown, which is what I'm gonna guess this book is anyway, I did not like Get a Life, Chloe Brown, which is the first book in the series, and the second book I feel like was such a departure, so maybe this person had read Get a Life, Chloe Brown, liked it, and then got to Take a Hint, Danny Brown, and didn't, so we're gonna guess that. All right, well, it was Meet Me at the Lake, which also makes sense because the first book that Carly Fortune released was Every Summer After. And Meet Me at the Lake, I feel like has a very different vibe than Every Summer After. But I didn't think I thought they had a lot of character development in the book, and I really liked how Fern grew. And I thought the whole concept was interesting. It kind of makes me sad. I cried to that book last year. And with that, we have come to the end of guessing. I bet my stats are really bad. So I'm sure I can put them next to me here of what I got. Yeah, that's kind of embarrassing with my 5-star books, but I think this shows that I'm more somebody with memory that's associated with like a title versus trying to place a description. But I thought that was really fun. So let me know if you've read 1-star reviews of your favorite 5-star books, because I definitely feel like it's kind of shocking to see other people really dislike books that you really, really love. But also I can be definitely a hater of books that I have rated poorly. So might have to do a little video about the books that I really don't like, because I have a full hater shelf like devoted to it. And yeah, I'm sure I hate on some people's favorite books. So it's just, reading is subjective, and I think it's really interesting to see everyone's different opinions. So next week I'm going to talk about some arcs, which you definitely have to be very opinionated if you're an arc reader, because you need to make sure that you are honest when suggesting books to people that are just coming out. So we're going to cover that, and then we have a readathon, and then we get into May. How exciting. So if you have any suggestions for fun summer book reads that you would like me to make a video on, would be happy for any comments in the suggestions, because I slowly feel like I'm burning out. But I'll see you for at least the next 2 weeks and hopefully into the month of May.